It is Monday, April 28th, 2025, 9 a.m. and or 9:30, and we're here to discuss the property tax exemption pursuant to Idaho Code 63602 NN for Silver Valley Metals Corporation. And I will turn it over to our prosecutor, Samuel.
Okay. Well, so before the board is a proposed resolution. There are a number of discretionary items in there for the board to consider. The first issue would be under Appendix A. Those are the requested exemptions. So actually, let me add that to you. These will be the final version of the requested exemptions that the company is asking for.
Okay.
So the board could obviously adopt those all or some portion thereof. I think there might have been a couple added.
Okay.
And then there was the amount of the dollar amount that is requested for the average wage. The company had indicated that they're willing to commit to $87,000. I wrote that in, but obviously that's subject to revision by the board. There's also the number of years. The company is asking for 5, which is the maximum under the statute. The company is also asking for 100% exemption for the increase from their investment, which it would be obviously the maximum allowed by the statute as well. There's the required number of jobs. The company has indicated that they're anticipating adding 200, but they were asking to commit to 120. So the board would need to consider the number of jobs that are being required in order to grant the exemption. And then there's a deadline built into it. The company is basically asking for 3 years to substantially make the investment and create the jobs. So that would be another issue that the board, would be subject to the board's discretion.
Okay, so they're asking for 5 years, but they're saying that they'll have this invested by 3 years.
Yes, the investment
Correct.
and 60% of the promised jobs within the 3 years. But the board would have discretion to set a different deadline. Obviously, I think that we should take into account what the company thinks a reasonable goal is. I'm sure they're trying to build in a little buffer in everything. So.
And that'd be 60% of the 120 employees?
No, the 120 is 60%.
Okay, so 120 is 60%. Okay.
Yeah, so 120 out of 200.
Okay, so you'd have you would be finished with the project, the $100 million project, the plant project, in 3 years?
The timeline should be quicker than that. And I'll introduce Tom Francis, who's the general manager for Bunker Hill Mines.
Okay.
Yes, hi, sorry. Apologies if I'm sat on the back row, but my name is Tom Francis. I'm the general manager at Bunker Hill. I'm part of the team who's sort of joined there since, been there since 2020. I joined myself.
You want to come sit right here for a minute?
Sure.
I appreciate it, so that the camera can get.
Oh, that's
they can pick up.
nothing to look at point a camera at, but happy to do that. I'm part of a team who took over at Bunker Hill in 2020. I myself joined in February 2022, and we at the moment we're about 65% complete on our path to restarting. Those of you who perhaps been following us, we're always advertising an aggressive schedule. We're trying to get into production as quickly as we can. For a big capital project like the mine, the quicker you can get into production and generate revenue, the better. But we're not completely masters of our destiny there. We need to raise funds and bring funds in. And so the point I want to make is that we've always been trying to get up and running as quickly as we can. But right now, our realistic timeline is that we could be mining at the very end of this year and then fully getting into production with the mill and the filter plants in 2026. And so the timelines that have just been summarised that you've been talking about are indeed kind of predicated on giving us a little bit of breathing space, some flexibility in that timeline, and recognising that we want to get into steady state production and steady state generation of revenue and get kind of stable before we sort of start to come back into paying full property tax and other related items. But at the moment we're about 65% complete. The mill, which is a brand new enormous building on the main yard, is itself about 80% complete. Underground, we're about 75% complete, and we've got one other big structure, a filter plant, that is about 40% complete, and that's currently on the kind of critical path.
So the mill is 60% complete.
Overall,
Okay.
the project is 60-65% complete.
Okay.
The
So-
mill is more so, but overall, probably the key number would be 65% for the whole project.
And I think the mill, the plant you were going to invest $100 million in. Is that correct? Is that already been? How much of that has been invested in there already? Would you guys have a?
That is we've probably invested between 30 and 40 million in that already.
Okay.
And we've got structurally that building is complete. If you drive past and look at it, you'll from the outside it's good to go. And we've still got quite a lot to go in terms of piping, electrical work, cabling, and conveyor systems, and that's what we're working on right now.
Okay. Now, and same with the filter plant. You said that's 30%.
Yes, the filter plant is, and for those who everyone in the Silver Valley understands mining extremely well, but the filter plant is critical to the waste stream and making sure we can manage that responsibly and in an environmentally robust way. We're going with quite a big filter plant because we don't want to have a big tailings dam and a tailings lake. We want to be able to dry stack or paste backfill underground, which we feel are the most responsible ways of disposing of tailings. That is on the critical path right now. That is only about 40% complete. We're really just at the kind of concrete foundation stage there.
Okay.
I think maybe one other point I'd make, I'm not sure how these sessions go, is that, so yes, we're very much seeking to give ourselves a little bit of a buffer to get into production, conscious that every aggressive timeline we've shared, we've normally fallen a little bit behind so far, but to get into production and then to get into stable production. But I think the other point I'd make is that our conceptual life of mine right now is about a 13-year operation, but something that's common in the mining industry and was common to Bunker Hill was that when Bunker Hill was in operation for 100 years, it only ever had a life of mine of about sort of 6 to 8 years at any one time, because there comes a point at which drilling out and proving additional resource, there's no additional benefit to that if you're beyond that kind of time horizon. And so we're here and we're excited about starting the mine because we actually think the mine's got another 50 years once it gets going.
Okay.
And we're not seeking therefore to continue to avoid property tax. We're seeking simply to defer it during that critical vulnerable period as we get up standing on our feet and get into production. But we expect and want and plan to be here for 50 years or so.
Okay. Would you guys do you have any questions, Assessor?
Can you see that?
The Exhibit A one? Because I have another one that was printed
So
out.
now, this isn't what they would be exempting.
That's what they're asking to exempt. Yes.
This is current, correct?
Those are the current parcels.
So-
That's correct.
Current can't be exempted, just anything new.
Right.
And
Well, yeah.
The new stuff is taking place
On
those
those
parcels.
only improvements, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Improvement.
Yes.
So, and Taylor, thank you for that list.
Yeah, of course.
If we go through this, we're gonna need a better list. Because we still have to assess it, and we still have to report that to the state. The legislature is gonna wonder how the 602NN is working, and so we have to give it a value, and then what we're exempting. So this is current, so it's irrelevant at the time.
Well, no. What's relevant is the parcels that the exemption for the improvements is applying to.
Right.
Right.
So this list that Taylor's kind of sent us is
Yep.
what we're exempting.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll need a little more detail and what parcel they're on. We could help you
Okay.
with the GIS.
Okay.
Those are the only questions I had.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Would you like those memorialized in the agreement itself, or is this
No.
kind of an ongoing compliance?
Ongoing.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay. Yeah.
Totally fine. Every year, as part of the compliance reporting process, there'll be a listing of all of the improvements by parcel number, jobs created, average wage, so you can routinely check annually like what the progress is and what the county is
That's the language that I sent to you,
Mhm.
where that was their proposed language.
Yeah.
Our treasurer have any questions?
I don't.
Mike?
Yes, Mike Fitzgerald, City of Kellogg Public Works. Bringing you a message today because this is a very important issue with respect to future revenues for the City of Kellogg and other taxing entities. Number one is they've thought so much of it that they have scheduled a special meeting for tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at City Hall chambers, the council chambers, and they wish to deliberate on it and provide their position to the commissioners for your use. The second part was that there was a letter that was produced by our mayor, Rod Plank, dated 8/30/24. That is a generic support letter for the current corporation's efforts at the Bunker Hill Mine. We do support that 100%. However, that was not a support specific to this issue. So it was presented as a blanket statement. So I think I'd ask the commissioners to hold off making a decision until the City of Kellogg can deliberate and provide their position, and that may or may not be of use in your decision. But because it's such a large component of revenue down the road for the city, they thought it important enough to take action on it.
Okay. Now on that, you guys know that it'll be the same. You'll be getting the same money as you got this year,
Correct.
last year. This is only for newer. Okay.
Correct, but we need to
Okay.
brief all of the full council
Okay.
and have them render an opinion
Okay.
of what's going on. So this is actually new information that I just learned, contract language
Mhm.
with different percentages and startup and this and that, and that's the information that I need to pass along to the council tomorrow night,
Okay.
so they can weigh in. I'm not asking you that you have to just stop, but out of courtesy, we'd appreciate it.
Okay. One of the questions I had is you know, we represent the public. So basically the public is the one that's given the exemption. Is there any way that you guys would be comfortable to come in like maybe once or twice a year and give us a update on, give the VOCC an update on how it's going with the mine? I think it would be educational only, not only for the board, but also for the public that we represent.
We'd love to do that. I mean, we often talk internally about are we doing enough, or how can we communicate to the community sort of better what we're up to, and so that sounds like a brilliant idea, and we'd love to do that. We'd happily do that.
Okay.
And we feel the same with Kellogg City. We're never quite sure. Are we communicating proactively enough?
They come see us every month.
But we'd be delighted to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're happy to build that into the contract itself, but really your checkup is the annual checkup requirements. We'll submit all of that, so you'll have that documentation. But Tom obviously is offering to go kind of above and beyond there, in either
Appreciate that.
annual or biannual meetings.
You could also come and visit and do a tour whilst everything's clean and shining before it's turned on, and then starts to sort of get really muddy. And but no, in all seriousness, we'd love to help improve the kind of level of understanding in the community.
Yeah, I'd like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have anything further?
No.
Before us, we have. I think giving the city of Kellogg a chance to review this is a good idea. I think that we don't want to. We'd like to give you guys that opportunity. So, can we reschedule this for another week?
We'd have to renotice it.
Would you renotice it? Can we continue it?
What do you typically do with that?
I mean, as far as this hearing, we had at least 5 calendar days.
Right.
notice.
Well, I can probably continue this till. Okay, you're having it tonight. Can you get me your information and everything by tomorrow?
Excuse me, it's tomorrow night.
Oh, it's tomorrow night.
And it usually will probably take us a day and a bit to.
Okay.
If it's noticed out today,
I would say continue it a week.
Continue the week. Okay.
do it next
So I
Monday.
can continue this. Just continue it and not have to notice it.
Or,
I would still notice that.
I
Run by
was gonna
discussion.
say if you do,
Okay.
because if you send out a notice today, then we
Yeah.
have it next Monday.
Okay, okay. So let's continue it to Monday at 9 o'clock. Would that be fine?
Yeah.
Huh?
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, in terms, so the purpose of next Monday's meeting would be to go over any discovery issues. with the
Any
city
discovery
of
issues that they have and
Okay,
to give them a chance to look at it, and then we'll
okay.
make our
Yeah.
decision then.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Yeah.
May I ask just very briefly? I mean,
Yes.
certainly from a Bunker Hill point of view, we'll be here. Grant and Taylor were kind enough to come in specifically for this. Is there an option for them to dial in? Or,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can have them zoom in.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Would that be all right?
Yeah, that works
Okay.
for us, yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll continue until Monday at 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.